Well, if you already know, why ask, she said, crossing her arms defiantly and ignoring the fact that he hadn't asked her anything at all. During her travels with the doctor, Sarah had been nearly killed a dozen or more times. Actually, definitely more, now she came to think about it. Recently, an attack that had been meant to kill her had instead blinded her, and it had scared her more than she wanted to admit. The powerlessness, the sudden tearing away of one of her senses, had left her terrified. She hadn't said anything about it to the doctor, but it seemed she didn't need to. Look, everyone has silly little fears, she went on. Mine happens to be going blind. Well, that and snakes, she added after a second, remembering a horrifying experiment involving a snake that she'd been put through during another adventure with the doctor. Going blind and snakes were now 2 of her top 3 fears, but she would never admit the third to the doctor, not even under duress. And she knew he would never guess what it was either. You're not scared of Daleks, or Centaurans, or giant spiders? The doctor asked her. No. She paused, trying to find the right words. Those are all extraordinary things. Of course, they're terrifying, really terrifying, but they're extreme. It's the little things, the things that could still happen when I'm back home and there are no aliens for a million miles. Things like going blind or being bitten by a snake. An ordinary earth snake. Look, tell me more about what was it? The Bonadea? She said, desperate to change the subject. The Bonadea? It means the good goddess. Most of the details of her and her cult, including her real name, are lost to history, though. Do you know why? Seeing as I hadn't heard of her until 3 minutes ago, no, said Sarah. Go on. The doctor showed all his teeth, his eyes inviting her into the game. Have a guess. A challenge to her journalistic reasoning, Sarah couldn't resist. Oh! She concentrated hard for a moment. Of course. Because hers was a women-only cult, but all the ancient Roman historians were men, so they didn't have any information to pass on for posterity. Good girl, said the doctor. It was a pretty patronising comment, but the doctor was about 719 years older than her and probably the cleverest person ever to walk the earth, so she let it be. Anyone else, the Brigadier, say, or Harry Sullivan, would have known her wrath. Maybe we could investigate the Bonadea cult while we're here, Sarah suggested. Cause a storm in historical circles when we get back to the 20th century. The doctor gestured down at himself. I don't think they'd let me in. Oh, come on. With a ribbon in your hair, maybe? Sarah tried to look serious but couldn't help herself. A laugh burst out. OK, fair point. Not exactly your look. I'll just have to do it myself, then. Well, yes, if you want to visit a temple or 2. Of course, the Bonadea is not only a goddess of women. She is also a goddess of healing, and the symbol of healing. It's a snake. Great. Thanks for the warning. She'll just have to remain a mystery forever. The doctor grinned. Have I ever told you about the time I met the 3-headed serpent of Orestian Major? Oof! They'd been so intent on their conversation that neither of them had noticed the woman running towards them until she cannoned into the doctor, knocking him into a basket of cabbages. Hooking his scarf round the stall's corner post, the doctor pulled himself up. As he did so, one flailing arm caught the door of a wicker bird cage and burst it open. The stall holder shouted furiously as a dozen tiny birds hopped tentatively towards liberty, then took to their wings and flew out in a single joyful mass, twittering gleefully. Are you all right? Sarah said, helping the woman, who had also fallen, to her feet. Then she gasped. The woman's eyes were solid white and blank. Unseeing. I'm sorry, Sarah said hurriedly, embarrassed at having reacted so obviously. Has someone hurt you? Is someone chasing you? By now a crowd had gathered around them, eager for the slightest touch of drama to colour their workaday lives.